Hello friends, what's up? I hope everybody's doing well. I was just going to talk about our experience with boondocking and dry camping a little bit in this vlog. Before I do that though, I'd like to give a shout out to all the rad people that we've met this week in Coconino National Forest. We've talked to probably a dozen people and everybody's been really awesome. So if you're one of those people and you're watching this video, cheers to you. We've got a lot of information from people this week about other places they've stayed or to stay. Again, like I mentioned in my last video, having places in your arsenal to stay, in that case more is often better. So it's been really cool to just talk to people, and again, most people are just curious. They want to know where you've been, they want to talk about where they've been, and just so it's overall a pretty cool experience. That is one upside, I would say, of dry camping or boondocking over being in a regular campground. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, I didn't know what boondocking was until I started doing it. Basically, it's dry camping, so it's going to be campgrounds with no amenities in it, no water, no trash, no bathrooms normally. Sometimes you can find government land that does have like pit toilets at it. Corzite would be a good example. We stayed at one in Montana when we first left that also had pit toilets, but it's always pack it in, pack it out, and usually no water. So also, you know, parking lot camping like Walmart or Cracker Barrel is also considered boondocking. You know, again, parking lot surfing, which we've done quite a bit of. So basically just no amenities is kind of what boondocking is. So we're just going to touch on our experience with that a little bit today. So first thing, like I said, no water at these spots. Normally when you're doing it, you're going to be on BLM land, Bureau of Land Management, or National Forest. There are other types, and normally they're free or really low cost, but of course you're just on raw land for that price. So you're going to need to bring all your water with you, and then you're going to need to be able to pack your trash in and pack your trash out, so you're not making a mess of the area, and these areas stay open and don't get closed. Like I mentioned, and some of the areas in Coconino and around Sedona have been closed due to overuse and potential abuse. Again, I don't know all of the backstory, but since the government does control the land, they can do what they want with it at any time. So that's something to take into consideration also. And then when you're out there, again, you're going to have no toilet and no shower, so you got to think about that. Again, I'm just speaking from our experience. We're in a van that's not self-contained. When you're out there, you'll see all kinds of vehicles, you know, people staying in tents even. So it's going to differ a little bit depending on what type of vehicle you're in or what your setup is. But you're going to have to bring everything with you that you need. And that's also going to depend on the amount of time that you plan on being out there. We usually stay out for several days at a time, and then like I said before, I try and stay within striking distance of a grocery store so we can get our supplies. That's another thing to think about when you go out into these places, how close you are to areas that you can get resupplied if you're going to be out for a long time, if you can't pack everything with you. We have pretty limited space. We're in a pretty small van, so that's one of the reasons we have to run in and out, or back and forth to town quite a bit. Another thing to consider when you're going into these places is a lot of them, the roads are kind of rough. A lot of them are rocky or have washouts in them. I've been to a couple in my time that I couldn't get into. I have a front wheel drive, regular height van, so that's something to consider. Most of them are pretty easy to get into. But again, like I've said before, you never know what you're going to get until you get to the location. Sight unseen, it's always hard to tell. So that's another thing to consider, is the roads going in may be rough, and also depending on time of year, weather related, snow, flooded, and or like washouts. So the biggest thing I would say that I've noticed between dispersed camping and boondocking and or state campgrounds or county campgrounds is just the community that's involved. A lot of the people that are out doing this are doing it more long term. Like I've said also before, we're almost into the 2-year mark or getting close. So when you're in just the state or county campgrounds, a lot of people just doing it for the weekend, and it's kind of more like a neighborhood where people don't interact. And when you get out into the boondocking and or dispersed camping, again, people, for the most part, at least in my experience, are willing to help you. Like my neighbors left the other day and just asked if I needed water. I've been offered food at many of these places. I've had people offer Riley food. I've had people give Riley treats. So just things like that. And then, like I mentioned earlier, just the sharing of knowledge, that's always helpful. Again, if you haven't been to a spot and you're just looking at a map, you don't know. But if you can talk to somebody that's actually been there, or they tell you a place that they've been, and it's good views or good road or whatever, that's always, that information is super useful. And like I said, you can really never have too much of that information or those places in your arsenal. So I think that's one of the coolest things, and that's the thing that I enjoy about it quite a bit. Like I said, this week I've met a lot of rad people. Just similar experiences, similar ideas, and you meet people from all kinds of backgrounds and demographics, but they're out here doing it for whatever reason, and it's pretty cool to meet those people and interact with them. And like I said, in my experience, or our experience, everybody's been pretty cool. I've never had any really bad things. That being said, you still need to have situational awareness and kind of keep your guard up. You're still talking to complete strangers, but like I said, people should just get out there and try it and see how it goes. I think most people would find that they like it. That being said, I would say my biggest thing with boondocking or con is that I didn't start doing it earlier. When I first left, I did go to one spot and I looked at some other spots in a different place in Arizona, and they seemed a little bit sketchy to me. So it kind of gave me a bad vibe or bad taste. But now that I'm out doing it basically full time, there's a lot of pros to take away from it. Like I said, the biggest con for me is just not doing it earlier within this trip, and then just earlier within my life. It's a pretty cool way to travel around and see a lot of different places and get a lot of different experience, and also meet a lot of different people. Outside that, I'd say some of the biggest cons, you might be by somebody that's running their generator all the time. That can get kind of old. And then a personal pet peeve of mine is people that don't keep their dog on a leash. Obviously, I'm a dog person. My life right now is pretty much dedicated to my dog. I'm an animal person in general, but just letting your dogs roam free in the campground when everybody else has their dog on a leash or tied up in their campsite is a little bit uncool in my book. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on that. Again, that's just my personal opinion, and in my experience, I've ran into it a handful of times. I've run into it out at the ocean too. A lot of people like to have their dog off the leash out of the ocean, and it's always kind of uncool when your dog's on a leash and somebody else's dog runs up. You never know what's going to happen. But so those are kind of the downsides of it, but the upsides, in my opinion, again, also far outweigh the downsides. Just the experiences, the communities, the views, all those things, sharing information with people. Ask yourself, how many of your neighbors at your house, on your street or your block or in your apartment building do you actually know and interact with? My guess is it's probably 1 to 2, if anybody. And like I said, in the week we've been out here, I've probably had a dozen conversations and got information from multiple people. So that side of it is pretty cool. With all that being said, I encourage everybody to go out and try it. I speak again mostly, I've only been in the West Coast. I know most of the BLM land and national forest land that's available is in the western states, and that's where I've done all my traveling, so I can't really speak for the Midwest or the East Coast. Again, this is just in reference to mine, but I encourage everybody to go out and try it. I realize not everybody's going to like it, and not everybody can just up and drop their 9-to-5 job and go out and do this. But if you can get a weekend or a long week, just go out and check it out and see if it's something that you enjoy. And again, like I said, just the interaction with the people is pretty cool. It makes it interesting. Some people don't like that either. I mean, you can definitely go boondock or do dry camping and not interact with anybody. So again, that's kind of up to you and what you want or what you like. But again, I think everybody should at least take it into consideration if you're interested in being outside or outdoor lifestyle, or interested in nomading, van life, RVing, what have you. Again, I think once you get into it a little bit and get your feet wet, it's a pretty cool experience and pretty worthwhile. If you're interested in trying van life or boondocking, RVing in this type of fashion, there are apps out there that are free that you can use to find spots. iOverlander is a big one that people use. Campendium. I'm sure there are many more. I know on Facebook, I don't use Facebook, but I know there's groups on there. So there's ways to connect with people or find out information before you leave. It's kind of a good idea, I think, in my opinion, again, just to kind of have a rough plan of what you're trying to do. And then also, you know, how long you're going to be out, what supplies you may need, because again, once you get to these places, there's not going to be anything there. You're going to have to bring everything, your food, your water, whatever you're going to use for toilet, if you're going to be out long enough to take a shower. Those type of things are all things to consider. Again, if you're not in a self-contained vehicle, I'm not, so that's mostly what I'm speaking on, is just being in a van, car, tent, whatever, those type of things. But there's definitely information out there. Again, iOverlander is a big one. That's what a lot of people use, and it has various information on there. It's just an app you can download and find these places. And then I'll usually pin them right on my Google Maps, so I can kind of just use that and use the GPS on there to drive to it. But those are useful tools that people may or may not know about, that they can also put in their holster to use. Riley's really opinionated today. With all those things taken into consideration, Riley and I say get out there, try it. You'll probably be surprised. Again, you might meet some cool people. Again, situational awareness, you gotta have to feel things out. I mean, I'm not saying everybody out there is necessarily on the good. There's bad apples in every bunch, but in our experience, most people out here are heads up and just traveling around, trying to see the world and enjoy it. And everybody's situation is a little bit different. Everybody, from their vehicle to why they're out here to what they're doing. But overall, as a whole, like I said at the beginning of the video and in the middle, met a lot of very cool people in the last week out here. Got some cool information also. So we just say, get out there and try it. And with that being said, we'll catch up with you guys later. And cheers. Until next time, safe travels and good adventures. Also, another thing to consider and remember, I forgot to mention earlier, is I had to give somebody a jump start yesterday, and the day before that somebody borrowed my jumper cables to give somebody else a jump start. And like I mentioned or admitted earlier, I killed my battery several times when I was down in Corzite. So when you're out boondocking, that's something to take into consideration. Make sure you have at least jumper cables with you. If you're in somewhere that's busy, like I've been, it's not that big of a deal. But if you're in a more remote area, booster box, and or like I just picked up, solar, basically a solar trickle charger and regulator. Those are available at Harbor Freight. Also probably find them online somewhere. Again, I don't usually shop online. I just try and buy the stuff at brick and mortar locations so I don't have to have things shipped to me. But that's a big thing to take into consideration is battery. It's pretty easy if you're out for a couple of days and you're charging all the electronic devices that we're used to without a house battery. So if you're in a van with just the vehicle's battery, or in a car or something, it's pretty easy to kill your battery. And like I said, I've seen it happen a couple times just within the last week, and I've been more than guilty of it myself. So that's another big thing to consider, is making sure that your vehicle battery is charged, or you have a way to start it if you do kill your battery. Cheers.